Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything. I'm coming at you with another wargaming and miniature video. This one is, it's mainly for modeling more so than lately I've been doing a lot of terrain. Okay, so this is like an enhancement to your models. This is a medical gauze. It came in a roll, folded, I think 2 times actually. I think it was kind of originally like that. So what I did was I went through and I just peeled it open, went for the full Monty, unfolded it completely. Okay, there's like a little fold there. Unfolded it completely. And then what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to stretch it out a little bit because you can see that there's fibers and then there's gaps. This is going to wind up being camo netting. This is going to be camo netting. But I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit, not terrible, but I want it to be distressed because I don't want it to be perfect, you know? So I do a little bit of stretching, and plus it makes it go a lot further. And this is only like, I don't know, 8 inches worth. Um, and so what I'm going to do, okay, and once I get all this, you see what I'm doing there? I'm kind of stretching it out, giving me a little bit more, plus it makes it look like a camo net. Now you can stretch it out as much as you want or as little as you want, just depending on the scale of models that you're using and what fits best with your models. Okay, so I'm going to stretch this out and then I'll be right back for the next step. Okay, so I've got it stretched out. I'm going to lay it on something that I normally use when I go to paint my models. What I'm going to do is kind of just, when I prime my models, I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to spray it black. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to spray it black. And it's going to be a light misting spray. It's not going to be thick. I don't want it to clump up on the model. I'm going to come way back because later, once I lay this, and then that'll actually cause this to harden up a little bit. Okay, so I cut a chunk of it off like right here. This is the piece that I'm going to use on the model today. It's going to be a camo net on top of my model. Okay, so we'll do that. I'm going to spray it black first because later I'm going to go through and I'm going to paint it with camouflage colors. But initially, it's going to be like an undercoat is going to be black. All right, so let me spray that black and I'll be right back. All right, so I went out and sprayed this. I just did a light mist over this fabric, right? And that's all. It's a little gray shining through. That's okay, a little white. And that's what you get. You're getting kind of a medical gauze that's going to be our camo netting. Now, just to let you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that camo netting on top of this fuel dump that I've already made, right? And I'm going to cover this palette here. I know all that work gone into making this, but the camo net is really, and I probably made the camo net way too big, to go on there, but it's really going to make a big difference. I might cut it in half or something. We'll see. We'll see how it fits. We'll have to measure it. All right, guys. So I did cut it down just a little bit because I wanted to kind of put, well, yeah, I wanted to put this on at a diagonal. I don't want to put this on parallel. So you put it on a diagonal so the 4 corners would be pulled down like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue it on the top, and then I'm going to glue the sides down, and it'll look a lot like that. So we'll have to go ahead and, all right, so now to glue it on there, you make sure, what I use is this Aleene's original tacky glue. Mike turned me on to this glue. It's a really good glue. It's kind of a dry glue. It's not wet like PVA. Even though it is a PVA, it's more like it's super thick. Now I'm gonna hit a couple of the tops of these barrels. I'm just gonna put a little tab on some of these barrels, almost all of them actually. There we go. Got a little tab. I'm going to lay that on the side so it doesn't drain. I think that side looks the best. Okay, so I'm going to center this up, and I'm going to lay it flat. I'm going to let it stick on the glue. I'm not going to push down because then the glue would pull through the fabric. I don't want that. I'm pulling down on the sides, pulling it down to kind of stick onto the tacky glue. So far so good? Okay, there you go. Now we don't have to wait for that to dry to do the sides. I probably should. You should always let one step dry before you move on to the next. But I'm an impatient individual, so let's see, if I pull this down, where would be a good place to tack it? Probably right there along this palette edge. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to put some tacky glue along that palette edge, like so. And then again, I'm going to pull this down to the edge. Like so. Letting it drape down. Now I'm going to do the opposite side. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Same thing, a bead along the edge of the palette. Don't worry so much about your any portion that you might have missed, because it will dry clear. All right, so let's put a bead down the other side. All right, now what happens is when you make these folds, when they go down, the corners stick up, because remember the black primer paint is making it a little stiff or rigid. So what I need to do now is kind of push down on all the four corners, allowing those to kind of sag. I'm going to do a little experiment here. One drop of PVA in some water, and I'm going to brush on some PVA in the corners here. All right, so now you can kind of see how the camo netting lays on there. I think the watered down PVA actually makes it a little more sticky, which is good. I think I just learned myself a lesson. So we're going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go back and paint it. All right, welcome back. Now with the glue dry, this is a fairly rigid model piece right there on there. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to paint it based on some historical research I did on camo netting. There should be like canvas or burlap interlaced through the, like if I wanted to go really crazy, I might have some string that I might use a sewing needle or something and thread it through there, but that's just way too much work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it, and we're going to paint it in 3 primary colors. Okay, now it's already got black, so the black's good. Now we're going to have like a we're going to go with a dark green. Okay, so it's not olive drab. I'm actually using Splinter Stripes 348 from Panzer Aces, the Vallejo. And I'm also using bright green, and I'm going to be using Splinter Blotches brown. All right, so let's go ahead and get started mixing the paints. Very little is needed. Very little paint will be needed for this. because you're only painting this little net. Okay, so what color am I going to use first? Brown. All right. All right, now when you're painting your camouflage on your netting, right, you don't want it to be large swaths, okay? You don't want it to cover like half the thing. You want to make it small sections, small, not dots, but almost straight lines. I'm making them about 1/2 inch long each piece. And you want to paint it randomly. You don't want to be predictable. So just, you know, whatever feels good, just paint it. Try to be a little logical about how it might be on the camo net. You've got a lot of colors to do, not just 1 or 2 colors. What I like to do is put every color on every side. So like right now I'm putting brown on this side, and then it has some on this side, it has some on this side, it has some on that side. So I've already got it on almost every side. All right, so you can see I got some brown on there. Now we're going to go with the light green. They're calling it German camouflage bright green is what I'm using, bright green. Because there should be 2 shades of green on your net. Now I'm going to use about twice as much bright green as I did brown. Okay, now with the light green, I'm going to paint like little, okay, now I did, like I said, I was going to like do the 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch length splinters. Now what I'm going to do is put little arms off of that. Not big ones, just every now and then. Just a little arm kind of like that. Okay. Okay, so you can kind of see that you got the main green and then you got this little arm. And you got the main green, a couple of arms, one there, one there. All right, now the last color is going to be this dark green, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put it in between the 2 colors that I was just painting. Leaving some of the black shining, shining through, because I want there to be 4 colors. I want there to be black, dark green, brown, and light green. Kind of like that, if you can see that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this whole thing and I'll be right back. All right, so now we're going to let this dry, and what you see here is black, brown, light green, dark green, and with all the holes in the fabric kind of shining through, making it look like a camo net. Okay, now we're going to let this dry and then come back and see what it looks like once the paint has dulled out. Be right back. All right, so here is the finished fuel dump with camo net. Just put it next to a couple of other 15mm buildings, just so you can kind of see the scale and what it looks like. And all right, well, I'll see you on the next video.